Have you always been obsessive about your career?
Right. Yes, I think you need to be somewhat obsessive in a healthy way. You have to have a healthy ego to be in this business. You have to know you're good in order to succeed in this business. If you don't believe that you're good, you know, then you got to go do something else, because you're going to get hit time and time again about how you look. You know, you're this, you're that, you're too old, so you have to have a thick skin. And yeah, you know, just actually I was periscoping with somebody in the car before this, and I said I was doing this interview. And this guy goes, "Hey, get me into the business." And I said, "Get yourself into the business," because it's hard work, you know. And he's like, "I want to be an actor." And I said, "Well, unless you are an actor and you are 110%, don't do it, because it's tough." Again, I've had a long, beautiful resume, but it's still hard, even to this day. I have a movie coming out next year, but also I haven't worked in almost a year. So it's like, you have to be able to sustain yourself somehow through this business. And, you know, it's tough. So yeah, you have to be obsessive to a healthy degree, you know. You don't want to be unhealthy, which is the other way around, and tearing yourself down, because as actors, I think we are our own worst enemy. You know, it's much easier to be loving and inviting to somebody else, but how are you towards yourself? And as actors, man, all of our emotions are on the level, on the skin level right here. They're always accessible. So, you know, it's a daily, I think, thing to remind yourself that you gotta love yourself and you gotta push yourself in this business, and don't become complacent.
That's interesting. So with loving yourself, do you find that there are things outside of the business that you can focus on when maybe stuff dries up for a little bit, which I know it happens for every actor, and then all of a sudden all these projects come at the same time? So are there other things outside of the business that maybe you can focus on, and then?
Yeah, I say follow your passions no matter where they lead, no matter what they are. You know, I've been acting for a long time. It's who I am. But I also started paranormal investigating, which I do relentlessly. It's also become a religion for me in a way. It's kind of how a spirituality, I should say, not religion. This is something I've been doing for, God, 7 years now. And I go out and paranormal investigate. Now I lead tours myself and sort of help facilitate conversations between the living and the dead. I did a show called Ghost Stalkers, where they put me and another guy named John Tenney out into these really haunted places and left us alone overnight by myself. So yeah, and now that's, you know, another passion of mine that has helped sort of fill up the times when I'm not working as an actor. I do tons of investigations. I lead people now and take them out to really haunted places, and so it's good fun.
That's interesting. I know with intuition, we all have it, but some people have it more to different degrees, or they can develop it more. Was that something that you always had from the time you were little?
I think so. I've always been a very open person. I had a disease when I was younger called Rye syndrome, and it attacks the immune system. And I remember the doctors basically told my parents he's going to die within a few hours. Go say goodbye. And I was maybe 7, maybe at the time. And I was expected to die. And I think in that period of time, because I was bedridden for about 2 months, not 2 months, excuse me, 2 weeks in the hospital, I kind of floated in and out of death, sort of kind of went back and forth. Whether that had something to do with me being open and being able to see ghosts and hear them, I don't know. And then there were other kids in that hospital that died, and I lived. So I don't know if that had anything to do with me being open. Near-death experiences, I do believe, open people up in a way that probably they needed. When something happens like that, we have to look at, like, and I know this is going way off of acting, but
I love it. But
yeah, but you know, it all plays into each other. I think when you have a near-death experience, we need to look at that as an awakening experience, and how can we do that, use that to awaken.
Being intuitive, I know you probably pick up hits about whether it's a place, whether it's a person. How much do you say? Because sometimes as intuitive people, we have to learn to keep our mouths shut because we know things, or at least we feel we do, but maybe it's not our place to say them.
Right.
In the course of your day-to-day life, because you have this ability, it's one thing if you go into an area, but let's suppose you're in LA. and LA is sometimes not the place to be the most brutally honest.
Right.
But I think as being a person that has sort of somebody that they're answering to that's maybe or a consciousness about you, maybe I'm not describing it right. When do you filter yourself? Because I know that's a problem with a lot of intuitive people.
I try to I mean, usually something will happen and then I'll be like, well, I dreamt that, or I was thinking about this person, you know, and then you'll get a phone call or something like that. So I think we're all tied in some weird way. And we have to, and again, it ties into acting. We need to pay attention to our intuition. You know, I think a lot of the time that nagging feeling will come up about something and we don't listen to it. You know, then something happens and we've been like, oh, we should have listened to that. You know, so yeah, you know, if there's something that I feel like needs to be said, I'll say it. But I think a lot of, I think there's a lot of psychics or mediums or however you want to say it that put forth that information without being asked, and I don't think that's the right thing. You know, usually if somebody says, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that, I don't think you are. You know what I mean? If you have to tell somebody that you're a this, you know, oh, I'm an actor, or I'm a this, I'm a that. No, I don't know that you are, because if you really are, do you have to say it? You know what I mean? Do you have to validate yourself? I don't know. I feel like you hear that a lot in this town especially.
Sure. I bet that's really interesting then when you're in a scene with someone, because if you, I'm just saying without putting a label on it, just being extra sensitive to energy.
Right.
How is that? That must be amazing, but it could also be interesting if maybe there's friction. How do you deal with that emotions? Because I know a lot of people that are very sensitive. It's a lot of stimuli that comes at them.
Well, when you're acting, I feel like you've got to use whatever stimuli you can grab onto to sort of like get you into a scene. I remember working on Sons of Anarchy, and I had known a couple of the guys on the set, and I did a guest star. And then halfway through the day, I walked over to where they were all kind of hanging out. And I won't mention which one of the guys, but he goes, "Get out of here, this isn't your scene." And I was like, "What?" He's like, get out of here, this isn't your scene. And we were about to do a scene together. And I was like hurt, you know, and like a couple of the actors, they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's okay. You know, don't take it personally." So I walked away and I was like, you know, and then it got me going, you know, and then I used it in the scene, and then and you get there. So it worked. Not something I would do to another actor. However, you know, it comes out, and sometimes you got to take it there in order to go somewhere else.